Are you reading? 这个在帐篷里也不忘读书的人是 Christina， 从13岁开始就流落街头，无家可归。
When he came into the room to say goodnight, he put his hand under the blanket and said that he would be thinking about me naked while he was laying beside my aunt.
因为街头生活染上的习惯，他选择了出卖自己。
For a quick 2 minutes, that much money, it was easy. I lost respect for myself.
今天我们一起走进他的人生故事。
Because it was so unbelievable, they couldn't comprehend that someone would do that to a child. My childhood was a violent one. My dad was an alcoholic and he did a lot of coke. He beat my mom a lot. I had a little brother and sister. My mom worked 3 jobs just to support us because my dad couldn't hold a job. My mom tried to leave my dad numerous times but kept going back. I never understood why until I experienced the same thing, and I believe it's out of weakness or out of feeling like you have no other options. But she finally left him for good when I was 8. We went to the Women and Children's Crisis Center. We ended up staying there for a year. Normally, you only stay there for 3 months, but because my mom had such a hard time finding a big enough place for her and us 3 kids, they let her stay. And it was a good experience. There was a lot of caring people there. The parents were always happy and smiling, and there was always, I remember this girl. She was a year younger than me, but she used to read to me, my brother and sister, at night before we went to bed, which was comforting because my mom and dad never did that for us. And then when we did finally leave, it was the place that we moved into. It's not there anymore. It seemed like every place that we moved into, it was so run down that it got condemned, and we always had to move because our family was pretty poor because it was only my mom bringing in an income. When we moved into the house on McDonald Street, my mom hired a babysitter through an agency because she had no other options, and I understand that. And he allowed those boys to terrorize me, chase me around the room until all my clothes were off, and then took turns while my brother and sister watched. One boy would spread his ass and sit on my face while the other one had with me, and then they would switch. And CAS didn't do anything about it because they believed that the story was too extravagant. They didn't think that anybody would believe it. So nothing was ever done.
How old were you?
I was 8, 9.
The CAS not even take you to the hospital
To do an exam? No. No. My mom called them, they came and talked to me. They talked to my brother and sister because it was so unbelievable because of what happened. And they couldn't comprehend that someone would do that to a child, so they didn't think that the judge would believe. So yeah, nothing was done. I didn't have much of an education. I think that's when I started to really misbehave because I felt like nobody cared, really. I was always talking back. I think of it as a defense mechanism so people wouldn't pick on me, so I wouldn't get beat up. Because it was every day, people were holding my hands behind my back and taking shots at me, and I was scared to go out for recess on the playground. In grade 6, I remember I didn't go to school at all until the end of the school year, until they put me in a foster home. And CAS waited until 15 days before the end of the school year before they put me in a foster home, and then I got suspended for 10 of those 15 days for smoking on school property, but they still passed me through grade 6. I went to grade 7, and I was so badly behaved that they passed me through grade 8 into grade 9 just to get rid of me. I was in jail for the first semester of grade 9.
What caused you into jail?
For theft. Because with my dad not around when I was younger, my mom helped out a lot of street kids, and they taught me how, it was basically survival. I stole to survive. I had to take care of my brother and sister. We had to eat, so I stole. It was scary. One of the street kids taught me, they said, just do this. Put it in your pocket or put it in your bag, make sure no one's looking, make sure no one's following you. And I did, and it worked, and my brother and sister ate that night. So yeah, it just became a habit.
Which instance caused you to jail that time?
I don't remember because there were so many instances where I was caught but just put on probation. I believe it was a couple of theft charges combined that put me in jail that time. So they sent me to a group home in Oshawa. It was actually a good setting. You shared rooms. There was a couple of showers. Each day of the week you took turns making dinner for the house. Once a week or twice a week they would take you on an outing, like roller skating, or you'd go bowling or something like that. I was one of the well-behaved ones when I was there because there was structure, I think. So I was well-behaved because I knew that if I was well-behaved, there was reward, whereas at home there wasn't. So I was well-behaved, so I was allowed different privileges. I was allowed to get up extra early in the morning to do workouts. I was allowed to go to school. I was allowed to go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and those were unattended. And I don't... Part of it was because I was well-behaved. Part of it was because my family didn't really visit me when I was there. So they knew that I was pretty much by myself. So it was just like being in jail, but it was like more of a home setting.
Every kids are underage.
Yes. The longest I've been was 9 months. I don't steal when I'm in jail, surprisingly enough.
But wait, what you can steal in jail?
Well, anything. Snacks, care products. Some girls bring in pills. Some girls bring in dope. Guys put it in their ass. Girls put it in their pussy. I took weed in one time, but that was stupid because it was so smelly. So the staff, I just pull it out and staff could smell it. It's like an x-ray machine, kind of. You walk through it, and it scans your whole body on the inside, and it shows your intestines and everything. So they can tell whether you've got things packed up there. It's what they call dry celling you. They put you on the medical ward or whatever, and they just leave you in a cell. You can't flush the toilet. Like, you can, but it doesn't go anywhere so that they can check it, I guess. You don't get any clothes. You just get a paper, suit. It's not a suit. It's more like a gown, a paper gown that you wear. So you're freezing all the time, and you stay there for 7 to 10 days until you have a bowel movement, and then they're supposed to put you on a regular range.
How's it going?
Okay.
Do you mind me to take a video of inside?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, what are you reading?
It's called One Shot. Marshall suggested it. It's about a sniper and... Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. My mom kicked me out when I was 13, and I was desperate for a place to stay, so I went to stay with him. He started by taking me out for lunch every day when I was in public school. He started taking pictures of me, and they were innocent pictures. But then one time I came home on a pass, and he wanted me to pull my shirt over my shoulders. And then he wanted to pull it down further and further, and my arms were over my chest. But someone noticed when looking at one of the pictures that one of my nipples was showing. They brought it to the attention of my mom, who freaked out but didn't do anything about it. And I smoked cigarettes at the time. I didn't do drugs at the time. And he told me that he would buy me a pack of smokes if I posed nude for him. And I refused. So I was made to sit at the kitchen table all day. I think he thought that I was going to give in, but I didn't. And eventually my little cousin Brian, at the time you didn't need a parent's note or anything like that to go get cigarettes, so he went and took his allowance and went and bought me a pack of cigarettes so that I wouldn't have to do that. I stayed at his house once, and when he came into the room to say goodnight, he put his hand under the blanket and touched my bum and said that he would be thinking about me naked while he was laying beside my aunt at night, and it creeped me out, and I never went back to his house again. I wanted to break into his house because he doesn't have alarms, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
You want to break in to hurt him, or
just to break in and take all of his stuff, everything that meant anything to him. I wanted to take from him because I knew that he was materialistic, whereas I'm not. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to have food in my belly. I'm happy to be breathing. and to pretty much have my health. Whereas he prides himself on what he has, what he can show. And I don't have respect for people like that. I think that it's selfish and ignorant. I started dating a guy named Chris, and his mom worked for the post office. She was a contractor, and I dated him for about 4 years, and I ended up moving into their house, and she ended up hiring me at the post office, and that was my first job. And at first I just did flyers, delivered flyers, and then because of how fast I was and how efficient I was, she had me sorting and delivering routes, because I was able to remember where, because you have to be really fast in order to get the job done in the amount of time that she needs you done. So, and I took a lot of pride in that, because it was the first time anybody had given me praise. It was the first time I did anything that I felt I did a good job with in my life, and yeah, and at the same time, and I only got paid once a month, but it was $2,000 for a couple of hours in the morning. And so, when you're a teenager, that's pretty good money. And then I started working for a construction company at the same time. So I worked at the post office for a couple hours in the morning. I'd start at 5 in the morning, and then I would rollerblade to whatever job site I worked at for the rest of the day. So I was making pretty good money. By the time I was 20, I should have had my own place. And
看到这里，你可能会觉得 Christina 的人生峰回路转，出现了转机。那她是否真的能够走上正轨呢？又或者是命运早已注定？
It just happened one day. Someone slowed down beside me, and I got in their car, and I did it. It was so easy. When he realized she was dead, he put her in the bathtub. They bumped it down to secondary murder and dismemberment. When I showed him my hospital records, he agreed that I'm not gonna be alive for too much longer. I wish that my kids could remember all of the fun that we had, all of the things, and the type of person I was, because then they would know in their hearts that I didn't abandon them.